How's it going, YouTube family? Long time. Just coming to you guys after that animated video that you guys saw about the Trident wave. So today I want to talk about something completely different and unique. I want to continue my conversation based on the video that I had done in Miami about businesses and small and medium-sized businesses. The reason for my topic today, especially when it comes to talking about businesses, is because I want to give you an insight about what my strategies are for the year 2019. What I've been doing in 2018 and 17 as well, and what are some of the things that possibly you can participate in and we can work together if it makes sense for you. Now, before we get to that topic, right, I want you to understand that there's a sense of information that I'm going to be delivering to you today. I'm going to be talking about. They may connect with you, and some content may not connect with you, and that's perfectly normal. Now, I know you've been following my channel because you value the information I share about personal credit, but I encourage you to stick around even on business topics. The reason why I say this is because at the end of the day, if you have that depth of knowledge that goes into the business side, it's benefit for you. There's nothing that you can lose of gaining extra knowledge about how to operate or thinking about, exiting a business or how to financially engineer a business. I think it's a benefit for you because of two reasons. Number one, it's because you get the access to in-depth information from a mergers and acquisition specialist such as myself, who goes and buys companies. And then the second side is you also get the knowledge about what you can actually discuss with business owners if you come across people where we can actually potentially do transactions, you and I together, and you can walk away with six-figure exit or a five-figure exit. So think about that as you're following this video. So if you're here for personal credit reasons, definitely this is not going to be the video. But like I said, if you're here for that reason as well, possibly it's a good idea to stick around to listen to the conversation that I'm going to share with you about businesses. So I'm going to talk about three things today. The first thing we're talking about is the market in terms of businesses, right? The reason why small and medium-sized businesses are stuck, they're not really doing so well, they're underperforming compared to their peers or their competitors. And some of the factors around that. The second thing we're going to talk about is on average how long it takes to sell a business, right? So most of us, we go into the business element to start something, to make money, to grow it, to build our wealth. But there are other times that, there comes a time where we may have to let go of a business or we want to sell our business or our position for many, many reasons, right? It could be family, it could be emergencies. It could be, health reasons, whatever the case. I think that at the end of the day, people go into business without thinking of circumstances that's going to happen that'll adversely affect them when it comes to operating their business. So we have to be aware of some of these things. Now, that's the statistics we're going to talk about in our first part. The second part of our discussion in this video we're going to talk about is the idea of working together, you and I, right? So let's say if you come across a business owner or some of the things that I'm going to describe to you based on the first element, what are some of the things that we can do together to help some business owners out there, and some of the things that you and I can participate in, so that at the end of the day, yes, you can make some money, but at the same, I can go in and help that business owner restructure their companies, et cetera, to give them the solutions that they're looking for, to help them reach their financial goals, even on a business level beyond, let's say the personal side. And then finally, the third thing we're going to talk about in this video, is the concept of if you want to get mentoring with myself, of course, and I can guide you on to connecting with business owners, and you can actually help buy the process of businesses, right? So you can actually go in and buy businesses yourself. And I'm going to show you the strategy to do that. At most of the cases, you don't have to use your own money. You can raise your own capital. There's many different ways and structures when it comes to acquiring a company. So you have two choices. We can work together, or you can go out on your own, and I can mentor you through that process. But the best part is, there's a benefit for you at the end of the day, right? And of course, at the end of the day, also, we have to think about the business owner who actually operates the business. So let's start the first discussion about small and medium-sized businesses. With the economy's at right now, what are some of the things to look out for? First things first, right? Small and medium-sized business owners, and there's an institution called the Exit Institute, Exit Planning Institute. What they do is basically they do research and statistics on small and medium-sized businesses, where they're at, on average, how long it takes to sell, what the statistics are, how many businesses sold, how long on average it takes. So all these type of things are statistics that I'm about to share with you, right? Now, one of the things you have to pay attention to is, let's say out of the 100% of the businesses that are listed on websites like Business Buy Sell, all these type of different websites, broker sites, out of the 100% of them, only 10% actually do sell, and the 90% of them come back for relisting, or they fall off after a certain period. And normally, it could be a year, it could be two, but that is the situation. That's the reality of it. So out of the 100% of the businesses that are up for sale, or owners who are voluntarily looking to sell their business, only about 10% of them actually successfully sell, right? So that's a very scary statistic. So that gives you an idea, an indication of where the small and medium-sized business marketplace is. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? There's many different variables and factors for that, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit. That's the first point you got to pay attention to. So out of the 100% of the businesses that are listing, only 10% of them sell. Now let's go into the statistics of the 10 that actually do sell, right? So in most cases, if it's a medium to small or small to medium-sized business, we're talking about like $500,000 in revenue to $1 million, or even up to $5 million. That's the sweet spot. When they actually go and sell that business, it takes almost a year and a half, or sometimes 2 years, to go and sell those businesses. A good majority of them. Some of them you can get into negotiations and possibly sell it within a couple of weeks, but the average of those 10% that remain that actually do sell their business, it drags out the process for many, many reasons. Number one, and we're going to go into those factors now, right? So what are some of the reasons that out of the 10% of those businesses that list only sell, what are some of the reasons that it takes so long? Why does it take so long, right? The first thing you have to understand is because those business owners, nobody's going to value their business more than themselves, right? If I'm a business owner, I'm going to say my value is this much, and I'm going to try to get the maximum value so that I can sell it for the premium, right? Because that's just the way it works in business. But when you do that and somebody comes in, tries to look at your business and potential opportunity for acquisition when they're looking to buy it, in their mind, they're probably thinking, hey, this doesn't make sense. I'm looking at the financials. I'm going through the books. I'm going through the records. I'm actually investigating the company, its due diligence, and it just doesn't add up. The numbers that you're asking for just doesn't justify the price I'm supposed to pay. So they go back and forth. So business owners and potential buyers, they go back and forth in that negotiation process. So that's one of the biggest reasons. It's because business owners tend to inflate their prices, and justifiably so. I understand. They work so hard to build their business. Some things come up and they absolutely have to sell it. So they have to extract the most value that they can. The problem is, the market doesn't agree with the valuation. So a lot of, these type of acquisition parties, myself included, or even other individuals, M&A bankers, or even potential investors who are just looking to buy a business so that they can cash flow. In their mind, the valuation it doesn't make any sense, right? So if it doesn't make any sense, there's a lot of negotiating that happens past that point. And of the 10% who actually list and inflate their values and going through a negotiation, barrage for a good 15 to 16 to 18 months, the end result is that left over 10% that actually sell below the value that they actually wanted to get at the first place, right? So let's say if they listed for $2 million, you'll see in most cases by the end of their frustrations and due diligence periods and long waited lines and back and forth, they end up selling their business for $800K sometimes, or $900K, right? So if you look at that, a good portion of them, I'd say even 80% of them, actually sell it for less than half of the price that they actually listed for after so many months of being listed, right? And that's a small percentage of business owners who actually do sell. I'm not even talking about the 90% that actually don't get to sell their business at all, and sometimes just walk away from it, right? So if you look at those statistics, that's a really scary place to be, right? So a lot of business owners end up building their business, and most of these guys are baby boomers who are looking to retire. Baby boomers who are just transitioning their business. They just want to focus on something more concentrated, and they don't have the time to look after it. Those type of business owners are typically the ones that are actually going to start, inflating the value and basically trying to get a percentage out of it. But by the time the term is done, let's say the 16, 18, 20 months or whatever the case, their business has taken a majority of the hit, and the value is basically less than half, for many reasons I just described, because the markets don't agree with the valuation. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason also is, during that process where you're waiting to sell your business and you're going back and forth with the other party that's looking to buy your business, you're not concentrating on building your business more, right? Because you've basically done your work and you feel that is the value you want to give. So what ends up happening is mentally the business owner is no longer there. You as a business owner, you're no longer mentally there. Your employees are losing morale. Your customer service is not really up to par anymore because you're just basically in defensive mode. You're trying to maximize the value of your company while the other party is trying to reduce the value of your company, right? So during that process, those months that are going by and your business is gradually declining, there's a reason why the business valuation goes and drops significantly, right? So that's another area that we have to pay attention to. So when business owners start concentrating on defensive mode, where their business is declining, they're not paying attention to customers, their staff, the performance of their business. What are some of the things that they can expand on? What ends up happening? The other party now has a justifiable reason to say, hey, look, your business has declined in the past months that we've been discussing. So I'm willing to buy it now if you're willing to accept this price. So it's more of a pressure tactic, but at the end of the day, it is the truth. They're trying to be fair market with you. It's not that your business is not worth anything, or the business owner is not worth anything. It's just the fact that process basically dragged out a lot of frustrations, a lot of concentration from where you need it to be. The fact of employee morale going down because you're no longer at the business stage. You're just simply trying to get rid of your business so they don't feel good about working there, because they feel if their job is safe or secure and all these type of things. And it actually translates into the work environment. So a lot of people don't notice that you can try to hide the fact that you're trying to sell your business. But when your performance is declining and there are certain frustrations that are like kind of apparent in your business environment, and your employees are looking at you, they talk among themselves, but what it does is you're now prone to, you're subject to like basically exposure that becomes evident in your business performance, and the employee morale goes down and stuff like that. So an advice I have for business owners who are actually, in the process of selling is don't, forget to focus and concentrate on your key people, your employees, and your business performance. That's a must, because what ends up happening is during that process, while you're selling, you shouldn't stop concentrating. It's an opportunity for you to increase the value of business. So you actually stand foot and ground of the valuation you gave yourself, so you can actually justify it so the other party has nothing to say. So, that's one of those things that you have to pay attention to. So those are some of the reasons why business valuations are half or less than half. And only a good 10% of the businesses do sell. And on top of that, they sell only after a certain duration, like a year and a half to even 2 years, right? So that's a very critical component, to pay attention to. And what are the small and medium-sized businesses going through at this time? Now, you may be wondering, like, Ali, these guys are making $500K to $5 million in revenue. How come they're not able to get financing? How come they're not able to leverage, credit? How come they're not able to go ahead and ask the banks or investors to put in money so that they can grow? So those are legitimate questions, and I'm going to answer that right now. The reason why they're not able to borrow is because they're already, bootstrapped. They already maxed out their loans. They already have creditors that are in that process of basically, adding fees and exorbitant amount of interest because they're missing their payments. Because even though they're making that kind of revenue, they're not able to pull cash together, right? The whole reason for them selling their business in the first place is to walk away with something and to clear off some of the debts that they have. So these are some of the major reasons as to why a lot of small and medium-sized business owners are not able to access, the financing structures that most large businesses will be able to, through their stock share options, through liquidation, through guarantees, through trade finance, and all sorts of different type of, creative financial structures. So small and medium-sized companies are really struggling for those reasons, right? They're bootstrapped, they got maxed out, debt utilization, their cash flow is not positive, so the banks are really scared. Another problem is when that gets stuck, right? The big institutional investors don't necessarily concentrate on those small and medium-sized businesses, because for them, if they put money in small, medium-sized businesses, how do they pull the cash back out? Like a stock, right? If I invest in a stock today, I can liquidate that stock tomorrow. My cash is there. So it's a highly liquid marketplace. For small and medium-sized businesses, the marketplace is not liquid. The business owner now, or the investor, is stuck with their funds tied into the business operations until something happens or an exit is planned. And with the statistics like that I just described, it takes a good amount of time before a business is sold. And on top of that, you have to put so many variables to concentrate to ensure that your business valuation doesn't decline during that sales process or is not affected. That's a really scary thought for institutional investors or big boys, right? So one of the facts of why business owners are not getting access to liquidity or money is because of that, right? The second part of that is that a small business owner on his own, or medium-sized business owner, the fact of so many different variables around if he goes absent, what happens to the business? During that due diligence phase, what are some of the areas that the business has been declining in? And trying to fix those problems with more money. And what ends up happening is, the projections based on that, like the risk analysis, even if you were to pour money, it doesn't guarantee the business is going to transform overnight. And then there's the risk of the owner, right? If something happens to the owner, now your money is stuck, and now you have to figure out a way to exit that business. And you have other businesses to run as a financial institution, right? You have to issue loans. Your business is not to run operations. Your business is to issue cash so you can get a safe premium on it, so you can collect your interest rate and get your debt back and recycle the money in the economy. So the banks are very, very, very conservative in that element as well. So, those are the areas that you have to pay attention to for small and medium-sized companies. A lot of people don't even discuss this subject because they're scared to discuss it. They don't want their employees to know about the fact that they're planning an exit mentally. They don't want to decrease the valuation of their business. They're scared to tell other investors or banks or institutions or advisors the fact that they need more money because they're strapped. So all these type of situations lead down to the path where we're going to talk about our second point of this video, which is how we can help these small business owners, how we can help these small to medium-sized business owners who are generating anywhere between $500,000 to $5 million is a sweet spot. And the reason why that's a sweet spot is because it gives us a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of financial engineering that can be done to increase the valuation of their company in a matter of a couple of weeks. And what it does for the business owner is they can actually walk away comfortably knowing that their employees will stay intact, their brand will stay intact, their company is going to be taken care of, and they don't want to be the ones to let go of their employees or shut the doors, right? Because at the end of the day, a business owner is emotionally attached to their business. They give it the highest value they possibly can. And for them to accept the fact of defeat and walk away and let their employees leave or shut it down and lay off people is a very scary thought, because it's not an institution like, a big company like Bombardier or Google or Apple or Ford Motor Company for that matter, to give layoffs and you never have to see that person again, aside from the managers who are at that level, at the ground level. You're a small and medium-sized business owner. That means you're a sole entrepreneur that built your business and your empire for a long time now, and all of a sudden you're in a financial crunch, which kind of obligates you to shut the doors down, and now you have to look at your employees in the face and say we can no longer afford to sustain you, so we have to let you go because we're thinking about shutting down the business. That's a huge hit on your personal brand as well, because what if you walk down a grocery store with your kid and the employee's there one day? What's going to happen, right? So there's a lot of mental barriers and strains when it comes to an owner thinking about exiting their business by giving up. So they don't want to give up, so they try to maximize the potential value by listing it for sale or trying to fix a patch by asking for more money. And technically speaking, the money is not really the solution. There's other things that can be done, right? So that's one of the things you have to keep in mind. The business who are listing for sale already are the ones that are pretty much beyond repair. Sometimes they're profitable, of course, so they make the money that they need to. But at the end of the day, it's not an easy process, right? So here's where we can help the business owners. Here's what we can do, you and I. So if you find a business owner or somebody that actually is struggling, for a fact that it's a personal relationship or somebody in that matter, you reach out to them and say, look, there's ways that we can help your company. And you and I can come in and try to structure a scenario where we can work together to help their company increase their valuation and basically meet their financial goal. If they want to sell their business for $1 million, we're going to try to find a way that we can actually help them reach that goal for $1 million. So I think it's very critical for us to focus on helping create solutions for business owners who are stuck financially, who don't want to admit it. But you have to build rapport, right? How do you come across a business owner who's going to actually open up to tell you about their books or certain struggles that they're having, or they're mentally thinking about exiting their business, or they're strapped for many, many resource reasons, right? It takes rapport. You have to literally go out there and communicate with business owners, be in a position to say, look, I help small and medium-sized businesses. I have an investor who's willing to come in and help you restructure your company, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of the ways that we can work together. So you have to identify those type of business owners. And remember, the sweet spot is to be between $500,000 in revenue to $1 million in revenue to even $5 million in revenue. So that's, $500K to $5 mil. That's the sweet spot. There's a lot of things we can do in that capacity. The advantage there is that we can acquire the business. We can keep the employees as is. We can financially engineer, work with creditors, etc. The same structure that I do for personal credit, but in a more enhanced level when it comes to businesses, because it requires a little bit more attention to detail, right? But keep in mind that we're trying to help the business owner realize a certain value and try to meet their goals with them and try to meet them, halfway, so that we can at least, help them create their financial outcomes. At the same, we can actually benefit in the process by transforming a business to where it needs to be. So every scenario that I described to you is a distressed business scenario, right? But again, it requires you to go out there and build rapport, to talk to those business owners, to really communicate with them and figure out, what are some of the things that you can step into and say, look, I have this mentor or I have this investor that I speak to, you can talk about me, who actually helps acquire businesses. And at the same, you can explain to them that we have a strategy to help turn around companies to realize the value that you need to. But at the end, there are certain things that we have to do. We can create free valuations for them. We can go over that. We can do an assessment coaching with them on a smaller scale. Then we can add our, big service turnarounds, which is going to the company acquired and flip it around. They can actually buy us back out if they want based on our shares that we acquire. And we're willing to give them financing through a company to buy them for us to get exit, right? So they can actually buy us out with a financing company. So there's many different ways that we can do this. But that is a one way that we can work together. And if you do that, think about the benefit on a financial level. You're actually helping the business owner. You're helping the people in the business, the employees, the people that are the resources around that business. You have a brand you're going to be building, and potentially you're going to walk away with tens of thousands to even maybe $100,000 to $200,000 in revenue just by a structured partnership of that nature. But it requires for you to go out there and really build rapport and be interested in helping businesses. So that is the very challenging part. But it's not complicated if you know what you're doing, or if you're in the area or communicating with businesses already as it is, right? So that's the second point of the video. The third point of the video leads us to mentoring, right? So if you want to learn how I buy and sell companies, if you want my structured guidance, if you want me to help you go through the phase of negotiating with business owners and looking at creative financial structures and negotiating, I have a program set out for that, but you have to qualify. I need to make sure that you're really serious because it's not cheap. I guarantee you it's not cheap. This is one of those things that once you learn the skill, it's the difference between you making $10 to $100 million a year in difference if you know what you're doing, right? So the question is, if you're interested in mentoring, that's probably one of those ways that you can do on your own. Or if you want, we partner up and we find businesses that we can help and transform and basically flip around so that you can make some nice, decent chunk of cash, right? And build your wealth. One of the biggest reasons why you're following my channel. So I hope you guys understood some of the statistics about small and medium-sized business owners, what they're going through, the difficulties that are, they're faced with, the challenges mentally that, the strain on their psychology, and some of the plans that they have on how they're basically derailed because of the negotiating factors, the timelines of selling a business, and the percentage of businesses that actually sell based on the listing, which is 10%. Of the 100% of the businesses that get listed only sell, and even of those, a good 80% of them sell for less than half of the valuation that they had thought of. So that's one of those things that I want you guys to kind of walk through with me today. I appreciate you sticking until the end of the video, of course. Once again, if you want to work with me on this, and if you want to find businesses and we can help them, or if you know certain businesses, feel free to reach out to me. It's Ali@privatewealthclub.net. I'm going to actually put the email below this video in the comment section. Once again, it's Ali@privatewealthclub.net. And of course, if you want to get mentoring, the same email, Ali@privatewealthclub.net, and we can talk about some of the goals you have and why you want to get into the acquisition of businesses and why you feel that's the route that you want to take to build your wealth, okay? So with that said and done, guys, this is Ali Taraftar, your guide and mentor, once again coming to you live. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.